What's going on, bro?
Well, I'm very honored to have you call me up. Or did I hit you up about this?
I hit you up.
You hit me up, yeah. Because I hit up a lot of people just recently too about their podcast. So it's cool. I've been thinking about podcasts a lot, and it's great that you reached out to me. Definitely a big fan of some the elders, and I like that you're another Jersey artist.
Jersey.
You're really killing it in the art industry. But I like beyond what you do with then art. I like listening to you talk. I've listened to a lot of your podcasts already, and I think we're into a lot of the same things like fitness and healthy and all those other interesting things. Like this is what's going to make us keep doing good art, right? So you got to
Yeah, that's it.
stay alive. You can't just be fat guys painting away and doing tattoos.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate that, man. It's I was thinking, before we got on, it's freaking sucks how like when you're a grown up, like how much time flies by so quickly. I don't think I've seen you since my wedding,
Oh
unless
yeah,
unless I'm forgetting, but
back in your Florida days.
yeah, that kind of sucks that I haven't seen you in so long, but we keep up with each other and I appreciate that. We've always like hit it off from like the get-go, man. I was thinking we first met, it was at that Slater event. You were kind enough to have us in your house. I appreciate that. And it's cool to go full circle now. So
All right.
what do you think it is about us Jersey guys? There's like some kind of hustle or grind in us, huh? Like I'm wondering,
Okay.
I was like reviewing all the awesome stuff you've been doing. I've we've known each other for what, like 10 years or something, maybe more. And I was wondering, like, do you feel like you'd be doing what you're doing and have done what you've done if it wasn't for like the grind of growing up in Jersey?
Yeah, I think that helps for sure. And then also, you know what? Once I got out of college, I went to Key West, which is kind of like on the level here, this like small beach town and island time. And then I had a lot of hustle there, so it helped. Like if you go somewhere where everything's slowed down and everyone's like, "Relax, man, it's coming." Like I'll get to it next week, and then you're the guy that's making things happen. Then you're going to succeed, you know.
Yeah.
And that, but then I was in South Florida in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and then there was a lot of hustle going on, and I was definitely on pace there. And then when I came to Cocoa Beach, the same thing. Like people, I was like, "What's going on? I can't get my shop open. I can't get anybody to. I can't get any of these contractors to do anything. I can't get the people at the city to approve any of my things yet." And I remember one of the local business guys just like, "Relax, man. It'll all come." And you gotta just tell me to chill out. He's a surf shop owner, and all he does is like chill out in the surf shop. And I'm like, I don't have like a chill mode for very long. Um, I gotta get things done. But I remember thinking like, if that's the way that everyone is around here, then I'm definitely gonna blow past everybody and get things moving and really get my business rocking fast. And I did. I opened my business. I worked 7 days a week, and I got myself in a lot of debt opening that first business. And knowing I had that debt kept me grinding hard, and doing everything I can. If I wasn't tattooing, I was drawing somebody's logo or
Yeah.
designing somebody's t-shirt, or it wasn't just like twiddling my thumbs waiting for somebody to come in the door. And I got myself out of debt within less than 6 months of
That's
opening my
wild.
business.
That's wild. What do you think it is about guys like us that I feel like you're in the same category that a lot of people kind of peg me in, as far as like people admire, thankfully they admire our talent and what we can do, but I feel like people like yourself probably get similar questions to me, where it's like half about the art and half about like how do you thrive in this business world? I feel like a lot of artists don't seem to have the interest or the tenacity or the discipline to have the business side of it. What do you think most artists are doing wrong, that's maybe that you're doing right, that is making you successful in areas that a lot of other artists are failing?
That's a good question. Right when I first opened my shop, I someone gave me a book. I forget the name of it. I still have it somewhere, but it's basically talking about how and it's not just about art, it's about anybody in any business, right? You could
Mm,
be you could be the butcher, right? And you're working at this butcher place and you're cutting meat for everybody, and you think you're the best butcher, and everyone's coming to see you and likes your personality, and then you start thinking, well, why am I making this guy money when everyone's coming to see me? So I should just go open up my own butcher shop. And then you don't realize the only thing you know is how to butcher. You don't know anything about the business. That goes with art all the time. You know, we see this, see people in all aspects of business where they know how to do the part of the business, but they don't know the business of the business.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I had to learn fast, and it really hits you hard once you realize that, like, so you could be the best tattoo artist in the world, you're working for somebody, and everyone's coming to you at that tattoo shop, and you're like, well, I don't want to make this guy any more money. I want to go make my own money. And then you realize, you open up your tattoo shop, and you're like, oh, I have to do all this other stuff, and it takes away from all the time that I had to do the tattoos right and to build those clients that I had in the other place. And then you really got to learn how to juggle all that.
Yeah. What's occupying your mind mostly nowadays? Like, is it like you started the conversation, like we are into like a lot of like eclectic stuff, you and I, like a lot of it overlaps, like you said, fitness and yoga and surfing and ocean life and music. And how would you say your mind is sort of divided right now as far as your attention? I think you're a lot like me as far as like you like having a good time, you like putting your mind in different places. And I find that as like the years go on, the way I budget my time or my mind space changes a lot. Like currently I'm in certain sectors with my brain where I'm focusing a lot of attention. Where are you at right now?
Well, definitely a lot on yoga and health and mindfulness and meditation. But also, like I said, the beach has always been my big inspiration. I got to get that beach time in. You know, if us beach people don't go to the beach and we don't get in the ocean, then we dry up. It's like a fish, it needs water. And so I make sure I get that time in. I got to surf. If I'm not surfing, I got to run on the beach. I got to have my feet on the sand. Um, and yeah, I just want to stay healthy and live a long life and take care of myself, take care of my back for bending over for tattooing. So that's all done with all the asana and yoga and stuff, and a lot of ergonomic. I have a really good chair that I can support myself on with my chest, and takes off the pressure of my lower back. The way that I use my hands and the grips that I use on my tattoo machines,
Yeah.
all very important. And so you're really just thinking about longevity and so my mind, I'm when I sit and talk with my clients, we always vibe attracts a tribe, right? So
Mm.
we're talking about all the stuff that we all have in common because they follow me, they see my posts, and then they see that I'm the kind of person that's like them, and then we talk all the whole time. It's a great distraction from the pain of a tattoo.
That's interesting. You just said like, you're a person like them. What does that mean to you? Is it more than it's more than the ink, right? Like what does that mean like when you say that people say to you like you're like me and I'm like you? What who are you?
Well, I'm a positive person. I'm not using my Instagram to bitch about politics and how terrible the world is, and believe me, I see it. I know it's out there, and I could just talk about that all day. And then that's misery attracts. How's it go?
Expect misery, right?
Misery loves company, or
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I could have tons of people like where we could just be bitching all day about how terrible the world is. But misery loves company. There it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but no, I'm very positive, and I'm trying to find the positive in everything. And I think it's like people will look at another person and be like, well, these are all the things that we don't have in common, and that's why we can't be friends. And I'm always doing the opposite, and trying to find the commonalities. And so yeah, if people come on my page, you're not going to see bitching. You're going to see a lot of positive energy, a lot of like trying to make a better version of yourself, whether it's through the art or the way you think or health, and I think they're attracted to that because they're on that same path.
It's like an interesting topic. It's something that I get stuck on sometimes in my own brain. Like, there's so much in the world that is kind of effed up. And I think I'm mostly pretty positive, optimistic person. But then it's also, I find that being an artist, I'm like also overly sensitive. And I also am the type of person that is always looking for commonalities. And somehow it feels like that quality of trying to find commonalities is somehow in itself almost a reason for people to find hate in you, which is strange. Like I've been on social media in conversations where I'm finding commonalities in people, and someone else that doesn't like that person I'm trying to find commonalities in will use that as a reason to like not like me or to cause an uproar. And it's strange, like what the human condition is doing. Like the idea of trying to be cool and loving to everyone in and of itself is almost like a political act in a way, which is strange,
Mhm.
right? Like it's very odd.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants you to pick a side and pick a color and stick with it, and there's no common ground, and it can be hard. On our front door, it says everyone's welcome. All colors, all races, all genders. Whatever sexual preferences. So everyone's welcome, and we want to keep that in here. So if you say that, if everyone's welcome, then that's also saying like even if you have hateful thoughts, even if maybe you're still welcome, but you just can't talk about it in here. You can't wear that shirt that's like that shows hate. You can't start getting a bad conversation going. Like we'll knock it down right away. You can't
Yeah.
start making fun of my counterperson or somebody or something that you don't agree with about. Then you're not welcome here.
Yeah, that is interesting. Do you find that attitude carries over as an artist as well? Like when you're at tattoo conventions or if you're out in public or whatever it might be, do you find that is there any struggle with having that judgment in your brain? Like you might see someone's art or someone's tattoo or something or whatever it is, and you're just like in your own, even if you don't express it, is there that judgment going on of like, oh, that kind of sucks, or that's what that's whatever. Like even if you don't express it, I'm wondering for people that are listening that are like, I don't buy all this positive stuff. People that are listening that are like, I don't buy it. Like how would you react to people like that and maybe give them some advice on, because we're all human. You can't have always been that way, right? Like I think I'm pretty optimistic and positive, but there's definitely moments in my past that have been darker. What kind of advice might you give to people that maybe would like to be where you're describing but are having a tough time getting there?
Oh yeah, well we all go through it, and it's ups and downs, and I definitely still hit moments of sadness, and I just choose not to focus on that. I'm not gonna really put it out there, and I think like last time we were talking, when you were living down here, I was going through a really bad breakup, and I was like actually leaning on you for some advice and help, and you were helping me, and it's like almost embarrassing to think that that's like one of your last like views of me in person. Like that I was going through the struggle of a breakup, and I really feel a lot stronger since then. I have been married for 10 years, and I've been married for 5 years and been with the same girl for almost 10. And um, I don't know. So I just, even at that point, that was almost like I would consider, I've never had an addictive personality. I've never had any problems with anything, no heroin or crazy drugs or alcohol. I've always been very, very good with all that. I guess the closest thing I ever had to a downfall was a girl, and not being able, like, to the point that I was like, this is so bad for me to keep going back to this. Like you would think if you were on heroin, like why would I keep going back to heroin? This is bad. And
Yeah.
I was at that point in my life, and I think that's when I was reaching out to you, and you sent me some stuff, and so yeah, I've had these bad times, um, and people can relate to that too. And like I said, misery loves company, and everyone's been through a bad breakup, so they all got advice. And but you really need to, like, instead of going and hanging out with all the people that are sad and drinking their sorrows away at the bar, you need to go hang out with people that do have great lives and listen to their advice, right? Because they've made it, and they've learned how to find love.
Love that, man. And it's funny you mentioned that because that's not even a dominant memory of mine. Like I remember having conversations with you about your breakup, but it's not like a dominant thought. Like my strongest, when I think of your name, the strongest memories I have are probably like hanging out at the beach for like the Slater event, and like when we first came to your house and how welcoming you were and how dope your house was. Like those are the kind of memories, or that I have most dominant. But
I've upgraded since then. You're welcome to come join. Now I have a house actually on the water.
dope.
and we go paddle boarding right off the dock, and we can go through mangrove trails. You got to get real low and like to pass through these trails, and it's really cool.
That's
I
sick.
always wanted to live on the water. I made that like a top priority for one of my bucket lists as I'm living here in Cocoa Beach. And
Yeah.
living on the beach would be pretty really hard, but it's not impossible to live on the water here in Cocoa Beach. There's lots of waterways, all sorts of houses on the docks with docks, and I got me one.
Yeah, we're overdue for a trip down. And we're actually talking net right now about looking for like a little mini investment property to get our feet back in the state because we definitely miss a lot of parts of it. So let's jump into art, man. I'm like wondering what it is about art that it sort of motivates you. Like every artist has like a reason we're doing it, right? Like it's a strange, hard, challenging path to be on. And like you're one of you and I are some of the few that are making a living from it. I'm like wondering what it is aside from obviously the business aspects, but like more spiritually speaking, because you're a spiritual guy. What is it about like creating something from nothing? What is it about having your style? Like you have such a unique, cool style that you've been developing and I've been watching you develop. What is it about that that's beyond the business, beyond the money reasons? Where did it come from and why is it important to you?
Oh, it's just a great feeling to make art, and then to make it for a living, that's about as good as it gets. I tell the other tattoo artists and stuff, I say like we're the rock stars to the rock stars. Like who do rock stars look up to? Because they're like in our eyes, of course, the rock stars are the best, right? Like doesn't get much higher of a level like living the life of a rock star, right? And now who are they looking up to? Like something that they can't do that they wish they could do. They're looking at a lot of the artists, tattoo artists, painters like yourself, and they're like, man, I wish I could do that. And we're like, what? I wish I could get up on stage and sing to thousands of people like you. Like, and you're looking at me in the same way. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, it's a great thing to aspire to be, is to be a professional artist. And, I don't know, when you were just saying all that, it reminded me of a story. So we're all struggling artists in the beginning, right? And I still go through struggles, but, and I, uh, I went to art school. So I had many jobs throughout my life. As a teenager up until art school, and then I just concentrated on art and art school, and knew I was going to get a job in art after that. So I went to Key West, and I was struggling down there. It was very hard, and even in college, I remember some of my friends like taking waiter jobs and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that would make sense. And they're like, well, some of them would make good money, and come back and show me the money they're making. But I kind of felt like I would see, then they wouldn't leave college. They would just be waiters, right? They'd get kind of stuck in this like food industry and kind of forget that their path that they were on, this like little side hustle of trying to make money to fund their idea of art career, becomes their actually new career.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, it's very distracting. And so I was in Key West, and I was having a hard time. But the one good thing about Key West is they really take care of each other. All the locals take care of locals, and so a lot of times I would just go to see my friends at the bar, and they would feed me for free, or give me drinks for free. And one guy I was tattooing that ran a bar, and he'd already gotten a bunch of tattoos from me and really believed in me. And I loved his bar. It was like very successful. And I remember I would go there on crab night, and they would, it was crab, all you can eat crab legs. And the oyster shucker guy had his whole setup, and he'd be shucking oysters, and he's kind of like a bartender, and but he's just talking to all the ladies at the bar and shucking oysters. I'm like, I could do that. That's easy. And I had no money, struggling, and I was like, hey, you think I could be one of these oyster shuckers? And I was like, I know I got the charisma for it. I can talk to all the ladies like he can, probably even better. I don't have to learn how to mix all these drinks. And he said, you could. I know you could. I know you could do it better than this guy. But you know what you can do better? And he just reinforced what I was thinking. You have a talent of art, and you need to follow that. I don't want you to get mixed up in this. And this guy's not going anywhere. He's a cool oyster shucker now in his young 20s, but imagine him like in his 50s trying to do this. So it kind of set me back on my path, and I was like, you're right. And I never, since I got out of college, every penny I've ever made was through art. I
Yeah.
never like got sidetracked into these other well, I'm going to use this job to make sure that I can, if you don't do that and you focus like, no, I'm going to go 110 on this, and then you'll make it, you know? But if you're like, I need to keep bartending on the side or doing all these other jobs to hope that maybe my art career takes off one day, the best way it's going to take off is when you 110% commit.
Not as easy as it's not as easy as that, but it definitely that's if you boil it down to the simplicity, that really is it. It's funny you're like talking about that because I was talking to I had one of my musician friends over yesterday. We were hanging out. He was in town for a tour, and we were talking about this because I realized sometime over the past few years, like you were mentioning about rock stars. That's so the same for me. Like I always dream about being a rock star, even though I'm too old for it now. That I was always like the epitome of like if you could have any job, that would be it. And then I realized like, fuck, I never did that 110% thing with my music, you know, like I do the same thing with my, or I have historically done the same thing with like playing guitar as most people do with their art. They get to a point where it's like gets really frustrating or they're not really getting reward from it. And they're just like, I used to enjoy painting. I used to enjoy drawing. And so lately over the past like year or two, I've been taking my music more seriously and I'm trying to apply my ethos as an artist to other areas of my life a little better because I've noticed some inconsistencies. Um, I'm wondering if there's a parallel for you. Are there areas of your life where you either are or are planning on taking that like 110% ethos and applying it to other areas, whether it's like music, relationship, travel, whatever? Are there, or do you feel like you're 110% in everything you do?
Well, you gotta pick your passion, right? So my passion, and people always are like, well, what do you like better? Do you like painting surfboards better? Do you like teaching yoga better? Do you like uh, do you like painting better, paint murals? You know, and I'm like, well, you know, I'm a tattoo artist. 110% I'm a tattoo artist. Or do you like DJing better? People want to ask me all the time because you know that's the closest relationship I have to being a rock star is being a DJ.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of rock star DJs. And yeah, I always think like, what if I put all the energy into DJing from the second I got out of high school that I put into my art, you know, or that I put into my art career? Where would I be right now? And I'm sure I would have made it. You know, I could be right there alongside Diplo and all those guys and blowing up these huge parties. And I think the DJ world is actually maybe even a little bit easier to than this like to there's only so many people that can rock a stage with a mic and be that front man of a band, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and it's just like to make it at that is that's like my hats off to those guys. Like those are the top tier, and that's what I would want to be. I'd have to be a front man. You know, I can't be in the back playing the bongos or something. I'd have to like be out front. And yeah, I always think like, and I do put a lot of time and energy into my DJing. And I put out mixes and when I'm there, I'm 110% there and I'm giving it my all, whether it's 10 people watching or it's 100 people watching. It's usually not more than a few thousand. If that might be if I'm like opening up for somebody, you know, and
Yeah.
then that's usually it's not about me. It's about them. The sound man's like pulling my sound down and like making sure I don't outshine the main act, and it's kind of hard to compete with, or they're doing a sound check over top of me for the band. So yeah, when I do get those golden opportunities to be in front of a lot of people, then you have all those other elements working against you. But
Yeah.
sometimes I'm rocking my own party that I promote, and I got hundreds of people out there, and it's just the greatest feeling ever, you know.
Yeah, man. Are you still painting? You still
Yeah,
painting a lot?
yeah. Do some murals here. Definitely just did a surfboard again. Still doing lots of surfboards. I did one for the Cocoa Beach Police Department, one for the fire station. They all
Yeah.
have them in the front of their building. I just did the Surfers for Autism event, similar to like just chilling on the beach and painting all day.
Hmm.
And like that one I finished the board. I brought a whiteboard to the beach and it was like top to bottom, full detail done by 4 o'clock. And then we raffled it off and all the money went for the charity. So
When
yeah,
you
still a lot.
when you're doing like your own work, not work for a client, not work for like necessarily a tattoo, but you know, you're just chilling at home doing your work. Talk to me about your process. What does it feel like for you? I know like for me, it has a couple different versions. what does it feel like? What does it look like for you when you're just working on something for no reason? Where are you at as far as style and subject matter? Like how might your artwork for your own interest differ than what people know you for? And how does that process feel to you? Like, are you in the zone, or are you using more of like just a habitual pattern of like I like to do these certain things? Like, talk to me about the process a little bit, Mark.
Yeah, well, it's like I think I've heard you say you don't want to be called a surf artist, but that's kind of a genre that we get put into, like, uh, and I don't mind it. I like that term. So we do a lot of waves over and over again, right? Doing a lot of beach scenes, doing these tropical scenes, and it just never gets old for me. It's like the wave I did today is better than the wave I did yesterday, better than the wave I did 10 years ago. And as you keep drawing it and keep finessing it, it just keeps getting the better version, the 2.0 version, the 3.0 version. It's like this really good version of what you keep doing. And I love doing that. And but like you were saying about, so then as a professional artist, we also get stuck with people come to you because they love all your stuff and your ideas and the things that you've painted, and now they want you to paint what they want in your style. And so that starts to get hard. And then, because people always come to me, oh yeah, I love your style. And there's like these redundant ideas of, everyone wants their family and their kids and all this stuff and birth dates and grandma and it's not really what, like, I don't know any artist that wakes up and goes, I really want to paint something that represents something else for somebody else's kid. Unless maybe you just had a kid and you're like really feeling that passion at that moment. But it's like doing a baby's footprint is not what somebody wakes up wanting to do. Like, the pattern of the footprint, that was always big in tattooing for a minute there. Or birth dates or these kind of things. Or then they start thinking of ways that you can, oh, you like to do those little skelly surfer guys. I want to have a skelly surfer for each kid in my family. And then they start thinking of ways to make their weird ideas in your style. And then so then it's like I have to step in and be like, well, I think just one image of this is going to be the best idea to represent all those ideas. I'm sure you have to deal with it as a painter. It always happens in tattooing, because in tattooing it's always 20 pounds of shit in a 2-pound bag. Everybody wants all this stuff, right? All
Mm.
this meaning. It has to have all this meaning. And it's the funny thing I always say is, especially with tattoos, is make sure your tattoos mean something, because it's going to be there forever, said the person with no tattoos. All right. So they've so like our parents and all these other people have like created these limits on people when they're getting their first tattoo and they're saying this kind of stuff. That's usually the advice of somebody that doesn't have any tattoos. So then everyone has to have this like almost forced meaning. They can't just say, I want a badass dragon. They have to say, well, I need the dragon to protect my family, and I need all my family members. And so then it turns into all this stuff. And I'm sure the same thing happens with commission paintings and stuff like that. But when I get a chance to, so I'm always drawing stuff for their ideas. That's what I am in my point. Like, I'm so backed up with all the things that I need to draw for other people that I rarely get a chance to be like, well, this is what I want to do, and put it out there, or just paint the painting that I want to paint the painting that I'm feeling at the time. And the other day I did get a chance. I had a convention in Alaska. So it's almost too far away for people to even know about me. So I'm like just another new face in Alaska. So usually if I post that I'm coming somewhere, people automatically hit me up and I get booked for that spot. But I was coming to a new spot, so now I got a new opportunity, new people. It's like starting over again. And so I just drew all the stuff I wanted to tattoo. And I put it out on the booth for people to see as they walk by, and it worked, And then I was just actually, I wasn't drawing their idea of how to represent their 20 kids and their grandma. I was drawing like a cool design of what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So as someone who doesn't have any tattoos, can I ask you some dumb tattoo questions?
Yeah, go for
Something I've like always wondered is and people that don't have tattoos, I would assume they would wonder similar things. how the fuck does it stay in your skin? And how are you using a needle, and how is it not leaving like scars everywhere? Like how does that what's the science and all that behind it? Like how does it just stay in your skin? How does that not have a negative effect on your biochemistry to have this stuff in your skin? How is the needle not leaving scars everywhere? Like all the, the dumb questions that people probably always ask you. Can you throw out some answers for me?
Well, those aren't terribly dumb questions. So got to consider. So all pigment starts as a powder in a powdered form, and then then when you mix it up into the ink, you take the needles. The needles, you dip it into the ink. It like creates a little reservoir of ink in the tip of the needle in the tube, and then that's pushing it into your skin. Your skin has 7 layers. It's going about to the middle layer of your skin, and it disperses all those pigments, all those powders. Eventually, so a tattoo, when you see it brand new, it looks like it's on top of the skin. It looks very shiny and new and very colorful. And then it does tend to dull a little bit after it heals, and that's normal. It just looks like it's in your skin, not on top of your skin anymore. And then that's really just all the powdered pigment inside of your dermis, inside the skin. And so if you do it right, if you get it to the right level, if you go too deep with the needle, go past the 4th, 5th, 6th layer, you're going to get scarring. If you go too light, it's going to fall out. So you got to learn the depth and the hand movements and the speed of how fast you go. If you're running your machine very fast and hard, and you're staying in one spot too long, then you're just tearing up the skin. So there's so much to learn about it. And I'm like going over all that right now with my new apprentices, and it's very interesting to me. But that's really what it is. It's just powder pigment that sits inside of your skin.
All right, so you're someone that's very health conscious. So am I. We're both into yoga, healthy stuff. The idea of me eating a certain food with like preservatives or stuff in it that I don't like kind of doesn't sit well with me. So how do you reconcile, or how do you explain it to me in a way as like a health nut type guy of you're taking this like foreign substance, sticking it in your skin, in your case, all over your whole freaking body? Like, how do we know for a fact that that's safe? How do we know like your body maybe doesn't want to have this stuff inside of your skin?
Oh, you have to use trusted ink. I use trusted ink companies. I hang out with the people that mix the inks and have an understanding with them. And I do a lot of very colorful tattoos. So a lot of the ink companies are always excited about me and want to send me their ink. And I'm not just going to use anyone's ink. I'm going to use the people that I trust. And you're basically a chemist learning how to mix up the stuff and what you're going to use. There's I know that there's some inks that have like hardened up and like have like almost like plastic in them, and they feel like you can feel the tattoo. It's like a piece of plastic. So of course I'm going to go the more natural, organic people, and the healthy. I use Revolution ink, and this guy Nico Hurtada, and he's a good friend. And before that, I was using a guy that he was partnered with for a long time, and yeah, I'm part of the process. I understand how this ink's being made, and I trust these guys, And it is important what you're putting in your body. Like you said, it is a foreign, but there's plenty of natural ways to color things. There's food coloring that's all safe and stuff, and then there's not. There's that red 5 that's terrible, but there's also ways to dye things red that are safe.
Okay. So assuming that's all, that checks out. My next question I've always wondered, I'm just like asking you all the stuff that I've always wondered about this stuff. Your body is said to like reproduce every cell, everything we have in us that's at a certain period of time. So they say like I think it's like every 7 years your body reproduces or whatever it does, like every cell in your body. Why are the cells that the ink is in, why are they not recycled, and how do they just stay in there? Are those cells in your skin not replenishing and recycling, or whatever the biological word is that I'm forgetting right now?
Now you're getting a little bit too scientific for me, but I would just imagine that even if it does reproduce, that the pigment is staying in that dermis of your skin.
Okay.
And I know like the skin on the bottom of your feet, like if you tattoo that, it won't stay.
Oh,
Because
really?
Yeah, because that's like this. That's like constantly making new skin and uh and the same thing. They have a hard time with the hands. You got to go really deep in the palms of the hands. Um, but yeah, sometimes people will practice on the bottoms of the feet because they know it'll go away. Uh, but yeah, it'll stay in your skin. I have tattoos on me that look almost as good as the day I got them. And they're
Mm.
done with great ink from great artists. They know what they're doing.
So you've been someone that's been successful at this at levels that people would dream of, and I'm wondering how you what process do you have internally to sort of deal with the ego aspects? Because on the one hand, I know you as like a very spiritual person. I know you're into yoga. I know you're into a lot of the same mindfulness practices that I am. But then you're also someone that you would love to be a rock star. You're DJing. You're out in the public. You said you would only be a lead guy in a band, and you're never shy away from the camera on your Instagram or anything. You're like the attention guy, but you're also like the spiritual guy that teaches yoga. How do you, and also you've been on a television show, so there's like these bipolar sides of Mark, right? How does the internal spiritual side of Mark, how do you juggle those ego challenges that I would imagine you would have, that we all have, that are in these types of strange positions? How do you cope with ego, and maybe tell me how that process feels internally?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like, so we're hiring right now. We're opening up a new shop, and people will write like when they write me like, "Don't worry, I'm not a rock star tattoo artist." So it's almost like a bad thing, right? It's really looked down upon to be. Obviously, that saying that if I think I'm a rock star tattoo artist, then I'm running around with this big ego, and I don't care about the art, and I just maybe do a couple tattoos a week, but otherwise I'm in the bar just looking cool with all my tattoos, trying to pick up chicks and live the lifestyle more than I care about the art. So there is that aspect of it, and people don't want to get caught up in that.
Mm,
Um, but I'm not going to lie, that is kind of something that drew me into it, right in the very beginning, and and I did look up there. I mean, there's like legit rock star tattoo artists out there that are living the rock star lifestyle. There's really only one that comes to mind that lives the rock star tattoo lifestyle, like does all the drugs, parties all night, gets in fights, beats people up. Somehow magically, cops always show up, and he's so cool that he can talk the cops out of arresting him every single time, and shows up late to the tattoo convention. His clients sitting around wondering where he is, hungover, and then he does the best tattoo of his career, wins tattoo of the day. Everyone loves him, and starts the whole cycle over again. Right. So
okay.
that's one guy I know in like the whole tattoo industry. So that's it's possible, but really, I think you're going to have a lead if you don't do that. If you stay focused on tattooing, you go to bed at a decent hour, you wake up and take care of your body and work out and draw and focus on the art side and focus on taking care of yourself and don't drink all night, especially. I think I think you're always going to have those guys are going to have a much better lead on all the other guys that are following that other guy, that the one guy that can actually do it.
Yeah. So do you have ego challenges? Like, do you find yourself almost getting like high in your own supply? Like, I asked that also because I've dealt with that as well. Like, I've had people come up to me at art shows or at different places and really admire who they think I am and admire my artwork. And there's been times when I almost bought into it, like, yeah, I'm such and such, whatever. But then when it comes down to it, I like also experience the exact opposite, where I'm like, you see an artist that I compare myself to, or someone that's more air quotes successful in some area, and then I feel like a piece of shit. It's like up and down, up and down. It depends on the day. It depends on the scenario. Do you struggle with things like that, or do you feel like you're pretty much in a good spot when it comes to dealing with ego and I'm only asking this because you're very much into yoga and spirituality and mindfulness, and I feel like these are topics that generally hippy dippy people like us like.
Yeah, and yoga they're always saying to remove the ego and
Mm,
things like that, but there's a lot of qualities to the ego too. So I actually don't say that, and but and I there's so many people in the tattoo industry that'll keep your ego in check no matter what. So
mm.
I have felt my ego. So usually, like as something goes up. So once I started getting a lot of magazine publishings in my first like big boost of my career, and that's what it was, that's what you needed. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that was really the only way to make a name for yourself. So I did everything I could to get in these magazines, and then now you're more of a known guy at the tattoo conventions, and people are walking up to you and want to take a picture with you and buy your shirt now. All of a sudden, your merch is more is selling better. And I remember even saying like one time somebody was talking to me about a tattoo, and I didn't like the way they were being, and then they walked away, and I said, "Well, that's not a good way to get tattooed by me." And I kind of like sunk in all night. I was like, I can't believe that even came out of my mouth. I said that out loud. Like, it always needs to be an honor for me to tattoo somebody, and it should never be looked any differently. Like it shouldn't be an honor for them to get tattooed by me. And so there are those little moments, and of course, um, I would feel like maybe my after a while, then you focus on my shop and focus on these other things. And I feel like maybe my level of popularity in the art world, especially in the tattoo world, maybe like starts plateauing. And I'm like, man, I need to get back to rising up. And what do I got to do again? Okay, now the big thing is to be on a TV show. Nobody cares about tattoo magazines. I could have a 12-page spread in a tattoo magazine. Nobody's going to care. Then I get on a TV show, and I do good on that. I stay on the whole show, the whole season. I don't get kicked off. I'm competing against all these people, and then I get off of that. And now all the conventions want me and are paying for me and flying me out, and people are now like a pretty highly wanted guy again. It feels good. Of course, it's gonna start inflating your ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's always those little things that kind of get your ego back in check, and they're like, relax, Mark. Like you're still the same old dude.
Yeah.
Like you're working hard, but you work for these people. You're honored to do the work on them. They shouldn't be honored to be around you. And like it's not, if somebody wants to take after people want to take your picture, and like you said, I am a camera ham. I jump in front of the camera every second I can. I love it. And I'm honored about that. It's never a bother. Like I see the other side where people like, don't bother me with the camera right now, and I don't want to take a break from this tattoo and take your picture because you're my fan. Like some of those people have gotten such big egos that they're not bothered to talk to anybody anymore. So if I see that, that keeps me in check too. Like I
Mm-hmm.
never want to turn into that guy. I never want to be the guy at the tattoo convention that has to put a bunch of chairs around him and like turn his back and tattoo this way because he doesn't want to make eye contact with anybody. And I see it all the time, or put their headphones on. They don't want to talk to anybody because they think that they're that big of a deal. And yeah, so I'll keep my ego in check from the things that I know in my own mind, and I'll do it from watching the other people that have huge egos that I don't want to be like.
When would you say you talked about like your peak of your career with the TV show and all that kind of stuff? And I'm wondering, do you have like a peak in your brain? I ask that as far as timeline goes. I think about that quite often where my ego jumps in sometimes and I think like, oh, this period of time that was like it's like a stock market. I'm like, oh, that time I was here. Like what were some peaks like for you on your stock market chart? And what do you think that's correlated to how you were perceiving your situation, how you were working? Like, what do you think was the main factors in that? Because it's something that I struggle with in sort of analyzing parts of my career. I think like, oh, was I doing something better then? Was I being smarter? Was I just luckier? I find that my habits shift or you get comfortable or you work too hard or not hard enough. How have your how has your stimuli in your career shifted with those peaks? How are they correlated? Do you feel like your business mind has grown and shifted, or do you feel like a lot of it just has to do with luck? How do you correlate those peaks in your life?
Well, I'd say a lot of people might look at me, maybe people that are coming up and like kind of think that I'm doing great and like, but I don't like when I look at where I am in my life, I'm not where I was hoping to be. So I set myself such high standards.
Hmm.
I just figured I would be further at this point in my life, especially at 30, these big landmarks. Like when I finally hit 30, I was like, well, I should at least own my house by now. I should at least like have something like to speak of. And at 40, and then here I am, I just hit 50. It's like a big one. It's like, and I'm not where I saw myself where I should be, So I
Yeah.
really set these like really high standards, and and I only see myself like same thing. Another 10 years from now, I'm hoping that I'm a lot further than I am now. I'm even a better artist. I'm not trying to plateau. I'm not trying to like get some legend status at any point, because I know like people. There's like it never ends. It's like you're constantly on this journey up, or you're plateauing, and you never want to go back down, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully you're like you make it as an artist to some point that you can ride on your name, and people are going to buy your stuff no matter what. But you don't really want to just ride there. You still want the next painting to be better than the next one, right? The next one. And you can paint really for a long time. You can't tattoo forever, like because eventually your hands will shake and stuff. And so I can see myself actually moving more into painting with these years to come, and hopefully my name as a tattoo artist and an overall artist will help all that.
Hmm. Talk to me about some surreal experiences you've had. Like you and I have been fortunate in having some really wild experiences. Not wild just in the party sense, but wild in just like pinch me moments. I know you've had a lot. Some of which I know, most of which I don't know. And being someone that is, like an air quotes like celebrity tattoo guy, I would imagine that you've had some pretty wild experiences as far as meeting cool people, doing cool things. What if I ask you what has been some of your cooler pinch me moments? What comes to mind for you?
Well, first one to come to mind was I did, like I said, when I got off the show, I was doing a lot of traveling and was getting a lot of great opportunities. So I immediately got sent to Argentina, everything paid for. That was great. I actually had an agent at this time,
No
and she's
way.
booking me all the stuff. And then she set up this whole trip that she was going to come on and bring some other people from the show, where we went to Switzerland and London. And this is the best tattoo travel trip, art trip of my whole career. Still to this day, just to go to Switzerland. Really getting really far out of the country. And usually, I don't leave my studio here for more than a week tops. So this is a good 2.5 week trip, and um, we went to and just to see the culture of Switzerland and the scenery and the castles and the mountains and Alps and drinking this mountain water uh, and the success of the country. The minimum wage was $25 at the time. Like I didn't see anyone, no homeless. It was just great, and we're making good money as tattoo artists. And then we got this awesome journey that's already planned out by our agent to take trains and buses and make our way to London. And on the way, we stopped in Gruyere, and that's an amazing place where the Gruyere cheese is from. It's also where Geiger, familiar with him, H.R.
Yeah,
Geiger.
totally.
So he has a museum there
Okay.
and a bar, and you can't even imagine it being in this like little crazy mountain town that's named after the cheese is named after. It's got the cows everywhere, the bells, and you're like drinking wine and eating the cheese that this cow made that's right over here, and we're very quaint, like almost grandma, like cute little town, and then you go around the corner and there's Geiger's like biomechanical crazy museum of like he's the guy who did all the artwork for Aliens, the movie, the
Yeah.
set design and all that. So you can imagine all that kind of crazy stuff in this town. And then his bar, he designed every bar stool. Like you're sitting in this biomechanical bar stool made of all bones and carved out every single inch of this bar, and they're drinking absinthe, and it's just like a work of art in there. And then we got to also see another really famous tattoo artist that lives out there. Uh, and it was just one of the best experiences. And then made it to London, and it's just a big highlight. And if I was like doing that all the time, that would be pretty amazing. Just like world traveling, like really far away. Like I'm like traveling to Key West and to Tampa and to Jacksonville and Florida all the time. But those big travels, those are some highlights.
Yeah, dude, big time. I think for me too, like a lot of the world travel stuff that I've done is definitely my highlights as well. When you go to those kind of places, like we were just in Europe with the kids for the first time. We went to Amsterdam, London, and Paris. It was freaking amazing. Spent like so much time just like in awe at museums and just looking at architecture. And that kind of begs the question. I'm wondering what kind of art. It's a kind of a twofold question. So you could either answer both or take your pick, but I'm wondering what kind of art you might admire that people that are looking from the outside might not expect. And I'm also wondering, and you could again answer both or do A or B. I'm also kind of wondering if you weren't doing tattoo, what your art career might look like. And I think about that a lot because I have a lot of interests creatively, and I wonder if I wasn't in the genre or if I wasn't in the medium that I'm in, would I be a sculptor? Could I be, some other type of thing? Or if I had like FU money, what would I want to do with my career if money and business was no longer an obstacle or no longer a factor? So I'm wondering what your art career might look like in an imaginary alternate universe if tattooing had nothing to do with it, and maybe related to that, what art you're really inspired by that people would not expect.
Um, uh, one you do a lot of oil painting, right?
I do.
So I've never ventured down that one, and even have a guy a mentor of mine that offers that, and I think that'd be very exciting. It's very exquisite. Like this is what the best painters that we look up to are the old school painters. They're all old oil painters and stuff, and that's what when I think of a painting in a museum or a painting that's selling for 50,000, $100,000, you think of oil paintings, right? Like this is like the top notch painting. Um, so that would definitely be a journey I wouldn't mind hitting at some point. But I really like it in this time of my life. I'm like the time I could go spend learning all that oil painting that would take a long time and building up the layers and all the things that you need to learn about it and the underpainting and all the stuff. I could also be taking that time with getting my coordination better with the spray cans, and I could be doing these huge
Yeah.
murals, and
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of something that's more like on my vibe. Once I do like a huge mural, and I just did this one mural festival, and like then you get in with all these mural people, and like this is a whole nother world, and they're like, hey, we're going to this festival. You want to come do murals with us at this festival? And you get all these doors are opening, and like wow, I could just be in that scene, and then you go to the festival and you're painting a mural by some band that's playing, and some other guy walks up and he's like, "You think you could paint the side of my business? I only got a small budget, like $60,000." I'm like, oh, like because murals can go for a lot of money too, right?
Yeah, man.
And so, but I don't know if I can do that when I'm 75 years old. I could see myself like working on some oil paintings, for sure. I feel like the oil paintings will be like my final part of my arts mature career,
Yeah.
maturing into this like cool old oil painter. I'm glad that you started it young and like really made it really went far with it so far. And and you do have these very exquisite, like detailed and flowy paintings that I admire, and everyone wants to get tattooed, and you really like you're never going to capture the full essence of a Jay Alders painting. Some people maybe. I'm always probably going to do my Mark Longenecker version of a Jay Alders painting if they want to get it tattooed. Um, but yeah, there's all these different art forms that are definitely still appealing to me, and it's like journeys I can still go down.
Yeah. I remember one time, well, there's been several of my art pieces that ended up at tattoos at your shop.
Mhm.
The one that stands out to me is when we were hanging out with the Echo Movement guys for a show, and Colin, their drummer, came in, and I don't even know if you remember this one, but I sketched out on a like a ballpoint pen or something on his leg, and what a piece of art, and you just like tattooed over it. So that was like our probably our one and only collab, but that was really like super cool. I've always wanted to mess around with like doing tattooing. I'm not into it myself, getting them, but I think that would be super fun. So I think we have the flip flop art fantasy. I think that would be super fun to mess around with that someday.
We can hang out and make a day of it. You know, me and Drew Brophy did that once, right?
I remember that. I remember that.
Everyone, there's a tattoo shop that's like you can throw a stone to it from his house, and we booked it. Drew Brophy Tattoo Day. He draws them, and I tattoo him, and he would just draw them on with a Sharpie. And
Is
it
it
was fun.
is a tattoo gun something that if you gave me or Drew a lesson that we could actually know any idea what we're doing? Like if I'm skilled in airbrushing, I'm skilled in certain mediums. Is that something that I could do, or it's so technical that even after some lessons, you would just ruin someone's body?
Well, well, first I have to correct you. Never call it a tattoo gun.
Okay.
Uh, Guns are for killing people. These are beautiful tattoo machines that create beautiful pieces of art. So if you became my apprentice right now, uh, your dedication and your knowledge of art you would be like so fast through your apprenticeship compared to the regular apprentice. Like I've noticed that people who already have a really good grasp on art just fly through apprenticeships, and there's time, like time on skin, like learning how to use this needle in the skin, like I was talking about, takes a lot of time. You can't just figure that out in 2, 3, 10 tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And, but you would advance fast, and you would be good at it, and like being a great artist like yourself and Drew, I could teach Drew probably a tattoo artist that would like a normal tattoo apprenticeship, a good old school tattoo apprenticeship is 1 year,
Okay.
and that's not doing anything on skin yet. That's just learning everything, like how to draw tattoos, and I think we could breeze through that with somebody like you in like a month, and then I put a machine in your hand.
So if this painting thing flops, I might have a future career.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
We definitely should do the collab day. I bet you some of your fans would love. It's one thing to get a Mark Longenecker version of Jay Alder's tattoo. It's also another thing to have Jay Alder's come draw it on their body, and then I'll tattoo it.
Dude, that would be so sick. I'd be so into that.
Mm-hmm.
What are there any dream collabs, speaking of that you have, whether it's with like an artist or I don't know, a brand, a company, a band? When you think of like if I could wave a freaking magic wand and have some kind of collaboration, what would it look like for you?
Well, there's a lot of artists that I look up to, and like this is what you have to do. Like the people that you look up to, you should make them your friends. And
Mm.
and I'm pretty good at that. And I do that. And it's not that hard. Like we're humans. Like you just
Yeah.
talk to us, and if somebody wanted to collab with me and became my friend, I would collab with them. I I looked up to Drew, looked up to you. I look up to these other tattoo artists, and and you can become friends with them and start talking about art ideas and collab with them. So we had I've had a lot of great artists pass through. Set up art shows with them. I just had Chris Dyer a few years ago,
Yeah.
and
I had Chris on my podcast not that long ago.
yeah, and yeah, he has a great podcast as well. And that was somebody I always wanted to collab with. And we painted a surfboard together, and we DJ'd together. Did and it wasn't that hard. Like I
Yeah.
just reached out, and he didn't know me from anybody when I first hit him up, and especially if you start making somewhat any kind of name for yourself, and somebody, oh, you put the time in over here, even if you're in a completely different career, like people are going to respect it.
Yeah. I think people take that kind of advice for granted. They don't really either comprehend that it's really that easy, but also I think when people approach people that they want to collab with or meet or get to know, I think that just offering, in my advice, if you could just offer some value, and maybe that value is just being friendly, but if someone has a certain skill and they reach out to you or they reach out to me and they have some sort of a skill or ability or something, some kind of life currency, that's a great in with someone. Like if someone's like, hey, I design apparel, I don't know, just whatever. They do this thing and hey, Mark, can I do something with you? Yeah, that's a great way to kind of open the door as opposed to just being like, hey, how you doing? I like your work. Okay, cool. But if you, I think, open the door with something in your hands, like you go into someone's house and here's a bowl of fruit, that's a different story, you know?
right? Yeah, the first time I met Drew Brophy, I collabed with him, and I was a little iffy on my approach and how I would do it. You know, I actually bought a little mini surfboard that I cut out of wood, and he had a gig here at Ron John's. It was my first year I was open. I was and he's being paid to paint a surfboard. He's not being paid by Ron Johns to do a collaboration with me, right?
You're
Doesn't
right.
even know me. He's never met me. Doesn't know me from anybody. But when he was done, I pulled out the board and I was like, "Hey, do you want to collab on this?" And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like he might be thinking I'm just trying to get a free piece of artwork from him real quick, you know, if he just draws on this little board. And but no, he didn't think that at all. He immediately started like he sat down on the floor, picked up some Poscas. He's like, "You draw this little area, and I'll work on this area," and we like vibed right away.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think people don't realize, like you said, we're all freaking human, and a lot of artists in one genre really admire someone else. But when you're living inside your own brain, you like forget that what you have is actually cool to other people. Like yesterday, my friend Matt was over, and I was telling you about. He's Donovan's bassist and guitarist and side vocalist for years now, and he came over to hang out, and we were having this conversation that it reminds me of what we're saying now, where he was telling me this cool stuff about music, and he was going into like these crazy weird tangents, and he was like, "Oh, I don't want to bore you," and I was like, "Dude." And before that, we were talking about like social media strategies, and he's like, "Oh, I want to do more stuff with reels or whatever, but I have nothing to say." And then he went on these crazy cool tangents about like chord theory or like setting up audio, and I'm like, I could listen to this all day long. I think it's amazing, and people don't realize when you're in your own world, in your own brain, how cool it is to other people. And I've met a lot of and befriended a lot of like rock stars in air quotes I'm doing here, and you don't realize like they admire like what you're doing with tattoos. They admire what I'm doing with art in the same way that we admire what they're doing in their genre. It's a pretty beautiful world when you realize that we're all equal and everyone has different things they can do. Um, I want to, as one of the final topics I want to ask you about, it's kind of a silly one, but I think
Before we move off the rock stars, can you tell me your list of rock stars you worked with? I know, like off the top of my head, it's G Love, Slightly Stupid, and Donovan. All
yeah.
right, doing all.
I was on tour with also with them, but also Matt Costa and ALO, who are amazing musicians. And then I was back in Brazil with John Butler Trio, which was amazing. And I've worked with like Expendables, and I have some stuff going on with three other bands that I can't mention yet because it's not public. But I also have done a lot of posters for like 311, and I've done like tour shirts for them. And trying to think, G Love Mishka. I've done an album cover for Mishka, who's like an amazing reggae artist.
I know.
I'm forgetting. There's probably more that I'm forgetting, but it's the ones I admire the most are the ones that I just have a good connection with. Like Kyle from Slightly Stupid, for instance. I was like talking to him on the phone the other day, and it was just like I love when you connect with people that have these cool talents. Like I love their music, but like we connect more so at just being like we have both have twins. So we talk about our sons or we talk
Yeah.
about like, just relationship stuff. And I think it's cool when you cross over the level of like I really admire you or I'm like a huge fan and you cross over into the world of hey, you're just a cool guy and that's really genuinely all I want. The most surreal one ever for me was when I had dinner backstage with Stefan from Dave Matthews Band. For me, that was like amazing because I've seen them like 50 times, more than 50 times live. So when I found out that he was like a fan of mine and invited, me and Chelsea and my daughter Summer for like a backstage meal before the show, that was just off the charts insane for me.
That's cool. I saw one year your artwork's featured all over the stages and stuff for Slightly Stupid, and I guess because of the new album cover, and they had for Closer to the Sun, they had the whole backdrop and all the side artwork was coming down. Do
Yeah,
you ever go to Closer to the Sun?
I never have. I've done the poster for Closer to the Sun. I think it's been, I think 2 times. I believe it was 2 times, but I've seen it. I've seen pictures of it, but I've never been there. I feel like in my old age, I just don't like, I don't like festivals that much anymore, to be honest with you. Like unless I'm backstage, unless I'm on a couch chilling out, I don't like sweating my balls off and having to pee in, porta potties. It's not my jam. But
Well, oh, that's not what closer to the sun is, though. You're in a resort in Cancun, and you're
that shows how much I know about it. I have no I have no idea. I haven't been to it. I don't know.
definitely like a more mature, higher end up. Like it's like I think like out of the whole season of like touring, like that's where everyone wants to be. That's what it finish up. You finish up the year closer to the sun, and you're at a resort, and you get a room, and you're walking around having dinner with here's Pepper, and here's 311, and uh here's Slightly Stupid, and you're all just hanging out in the same resort.
Yeah.
I've never been to it,
I
but
never been either. I'm sure I could go. I just don't know how kid friendly it is. And right now my kids are really young, so I don't want to like bail out of my family just to go to a festival. It sounds
sure.
amazing. It shows how much I know about it. I don't know. Like when the guys are in town, like we get together and we'll hang out anyway. So I feel like I would rather have like a one-on-one personal experience. Like if G Love's in town, we'll go surfing, things like that. Like I'd rather have like a bro hangout than a big ordeal. But I think I'm just a lot of me is very introverted. I think I'm like an extroverted introvert. Like when I'm social, I love being social. I love talking, obviously, but on my own, I really just like quiet time. you know, I've always been like that, and I've just sort of embraced it as I've gotten older. I'm like, it's who I am. It's all good.
Yeah, you're a family man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Um, AI is a big topic. I'm wondering how long in the future you think it'll be before they have some kind of crazy robotic tattoo machine that just like does it all for you.
Um, I mean, it's bound to happen, right?
Gonna
AI is
happen, right? Yeah.
gonna move into a lot of stuff. Won't be long before it hits the tattoo world. It's already being used a lot for tattoo designs, and it's like I guess you can embrace it or you can fight it. I think it's a losing fight, right? All
It is.
technology, everything. There's going to be things that are always evolving. I've always like tried not to. I think the moment that you say, okay, this is what ruined the art industry, or this is what ruined the tattoo industry, or this is what ruined it, that's when you kind of get in that grumpy old man vibe, right? And then you're
Ah,
because like I've seen it the whole way through my tattoo industry. It was like people bitching about the magazines, and then it was people bitching about the internet, and then social media. Oh, and then the tattoo shows. That's the worst. You
ah,
can't TV. It's on TV for everyone to see and in their living room. That's the worst. That's what ruined tattooing. But these are actually the things that are evolving tattooing and making it. It's going in that direction whether you're on board or not, right? It's like a freight train that just keeps moving. So you
yeah.
can get off and get left behind, or you can stay on. So if there's going to be if there's going to be improved technology that includes AI or anything that technologically advancing tattooing, you better bet that I'll be right there in the front seat, riding it, and hanging out, and learning about it, and moving forward with it.
Yeah. I for the most part I embrace it because like you said, you have no freaking choice. You have to embrace it. But I think the only part of me that's kind of bummed out is just for the kids. I feel like growing up when we grew up, there's so many opportunities that you can find or create with art. I don't know if that's true anymore of like the next generation. Time will tell. But if a
I
young
also have to imagine like every generation always says something like this.
yeah, but I think AI is much different because with digital tools, you can use it as a tool, but AI is something that literally can do it, like literally replaces humans. It's not just a tool for humans. You know what I mean? Like take like stock photography or illustration as examples. Like AI has only been really mainstream for like a year, and I feel like stock photography is probably close to dead already from it.
Right?
And I feel like illustration is probably pretty much the same, if not far behind. You
Yeah,
know,
it's next.
so it's like I'm definitely not fighting it. I'm embracing it. I'm learning it, but I feel like it's a
But
bummer for
tattooing
kids.
being such a hands-on skill, I think that'll be further down the line than anything else.
100%. Yeah. Well, dude, this has been great, man. Is there anything else on your mind we didn't touch upon that you want to hit, or if not, like tell everyone how they can find you? But it's always good to talk to you, Mark.
I appreciate it. I was also going to say, tattooing is so personal. Like if somebody commissions you to paint a painting, you go lock yourself in a room for 50 hours and give it everything you got. They weren't there with you, right?
Yeah.
They don't know what the time and effort you put into it, and the backbreaking and this and all that. Like So a tattoo, like they were all along the ride with me the whole time, and I'm
Mhm.
talking them through it. I'm helping them. I'm doing what I can, keeping them positive, maybe even giving them some breath work lessons. And like this is whole up and down of pain to uncomfortable to back to being cool again to I forgot about the pain to we're talking.
Yeah.
That almost seems like that's definitely something that no technology is ever gonna do. Like you're not gonna ever create that bond with the tattoo artist and the person getting it. But further than that, working our way out of the conversation. Like I said, my name is Mark Longenecker. I'm Endless Summer Tattoo in Cocoa Beach, Florida. I've been tattooing for almost 30 years. Big fan of art and all things healthy. And you can find me at endlesssummertattoo.com or just Mark Longenecker on Instagram. Don't forget the E in there. There's a little E, long E Necker. Uh, but if you Google my name spelled wrong or spelled right, you'll still find me. There's like pages of stuff on me, and not too hard to find.